Welcome back to the Powered by Football podcast, your favourite Power Chair football podcast, hosted by Jackson Taylor and Matthew Mallows, as we return to the first Matchday Roundup of 2026. Matt, how are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. It's good to be back for the season. Had some interesting games of football yesterday. Fun to talk about, I'd say.
Yeah, that's our job as the resident podcasters of the New
Whether
Southern
we like it
Campus.
or not.
Whether we like it or not, that is our job. So we have got Football St George versus the Newcastle Jets in both the Championship and the Premiership. And we have also got the Sydney Derby, Sydney FC versus the Western Sydney Wanderers in both competitions for you today. We've also got a very fun interview that I did on my own with the Newcastle Jets, Dimitri Liolio-Davis. So stay tuned for that. And I guess without further ado, let's get into the first game of the day, the first game of the season, which was Football St George versus the Newcastle Jets in the Championship.
It was a good showing from the St George reserve grade team. I think I expected St George to come out and win simply because of the experience difference, you know. I thought I missed the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, you were a bit late. I was there on time, guys, because I'm a dedicated podcaster.
So I can't speak for how they started the game, but certainly they definitely showed signs of improvement from last year. But then again, so did St George. So I think whenever you see a scoreline like that, it's a bit hard to be like, well, one team was really bad, one team was really good. I don't think that the game was as one-sided as the scoreline suggested, because the Jets had some shots on target from what I saw. There weren't many, but they were there. St George just had more experience on the field, and they were just more clinical with their passes and passing and shooting, basically. And that's what made the difference in the end.
Yeah, I think you touched on missing the first 15 minutes. We did see a very, very fast start from St George. I think, I'm not sure if it's a record broken, but it's very, very close. They had basically forced a lead within the first 15 seconds. So the intensity with which they were playing was just obvious from the start, and I was impressed by the intensity they carried.
How many seconds in was the first goal?
I would say about 15 seconds in.
I mean, I off the top of my head, I can't think of any goals that are faster than that, at least in the Championship. I'm trying to find the stats on the website for the game because I don't actually... It's got the tables up, but it does not have how many people scored what. Let me find out what's going on there, because I think you had the table somewhere.
We will do our more in-depth analysis of the table towards the end of the episode. Regularly scheduled programming, but while you get that up, I just thought I'll touch a bit more on the game itself. Really, there were some really good saves from the Newcastle defense. I know seeing Spencer in the back there for Newcastle, he did quite well with a few saves. Obviously, the scoreline isn't the best to look at, but I think that him and Kai and a few of the guys on that Newcastle side would be going away going, you know what, we did make a good effort to keep them from scoring another handful of goals. Would I think be one of the big positives for them from that game. Matt, do you have any other comments? Have you found that table?
Look, we'll get back to you on the stats because I don't. They are not on the website, and I swear they were.
Are you looking at the Championship stats?
Oh,
I have the Championship stats. I can read them. Normally, I do this stuff at the end.
I just want to know who, because I think the goals are actually pretty spread out.
Yes,
from St George.
So
there wasn't one person that scored 5.
Yeah, not in this game. No, there was no one that scored a lot of.
Yes, not in this game.
No. So in this game, Ibrahim Khan scored 2, Ruby McLean scored 2, and Finn O'Donovan scored 1.
Yeah, cool. And then I guess there was an own goal in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's the first game of the season. Everyone's going to be a bit rusty. I think both teams have a fair bit to work on. At this stage of the season, everybody's got something to work on. You know what I mean? It's like, again, I don't think the scoreline reflected how well each team played because the Jets were good in patches and they did defend quite well, especially with Cooper at the back, I believe it was.
Yes. him and Spencer both gave good accounts in defense yesterday.
It was a bit of a different story in the Premier League match, I'd say. So the Premier League game ended 2-0 to the Jets. Thoughts on that? Because I thought, because it was 2-0 at halftime, I thought personally that at the end of the game, it could have ended much higher, like scoreline wise, because the Jets missed a couple of absolute sitters. The amount of shots Dimitri put wide of the post without anybody near him. Come on, buddy. But still, again, first game of the year, everyone's going to be rusty.
Absolutely. Like we have seen this Newcastle side and a chunk of their players who've been in the Aussie side even be much more clinical. And I think, we only hold them to this incredibly high standard because we know they are capable of better. Whilst that first half they got their 2 goals, whatever, St. George did defend very well in this game. Like
They did.
Mitch and Jake as a defensive duo worked really, really well. I think there were a lot of
And Turnbull was rotating into the box there as well at times.
There were a lot of question marks around them, obviously with Absy leaving to go to Hills. Matt, there's a lot of question marks of, what's going to happen to St. George with him not there.
Yeah.
How do they adapt without him? So, there's a lot of changes going on there. And we had predicted last week in our predictions episode for them to get last, but with the defensive display that they showed today, I think they're going to be putting up a big fight.
Yeah.
And I think especially, we'll move on to the afternoon games a bit later. The top two won't be the only big battle this year, I think.
I was always under the impression that they would be hard to break down because you've got Mitch and Jake who are solid at the back. You've got Turnbull who, goal kept for Australia for a number of years. So you've got a lot of experience at the back there defense-wise. But what they really missed was an outlet to get out of their own half. I felt like most of the game was played in their own half. And while they defended quite well for most of the game, if you don't see the other side of the field, you're just not going to win games. Hills had that problem last year where we could defend well, but if you're going to defend for 40 minutes constantly, you're going to concede eventually. The ball goes in, everyone drops their heads, and then 2 or 3 more go in. That being said, when they got out of their own half, they did get a couple of decent shots on target. I thought that the Jets were a little bit slow, particularly in the second half, with the way they moved the ball around. Again, that's probably due to the fact that it is the first game of the season. And, everyone's coming back from quite a significant break. But yeah, they looked a bit sluggish in their passing. Like they were making their marks, but everything just felt a bit slow. Whether that was because of the weather, because of the court, whatnot. But they just looked a bit slow. But I think, do they have the bye next week? Let me have a look. Yeah, no, they've got the bye. They've got the bye next week. So yeah, they've got some stuff to work on. But yeah, I think just they need to be more clinical in attack because they missed a couple of sitters.
Yeah,
and they just need to get back into the rhythm of getting the ball moving at a quicker pace because St. George could cut out a lot of their passing in the final third because they were just moving the ball a bit slow and trapping the ball too much. Any other thoughts? Who scored?
It was Dimitri with both for that.
It was Dimitri with both. I thought so.
Yeah. One Shannon assist, one Hastas assist.
Yeah, it was nice to see Finn come off for a bit as well. Seeing reserve graders get some game time towards the end is always nice.
Yeah,
Turnbull made some fantastic saves as well, especially in that second half.
Yeah, there was a double save I remember from him that
right towards the end was very good. James Kim came on. Apparently he kissed the post according to the notes. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to say miss, but autocorrected. It says he kissed the goal post.
Yeah, look, we had a wonderful little, bit of behind the scenes here. My laptop almost died halfway through the second half of this game, so I had to tap out of doing notes and tap Matt in to finish off this game. So, yeah, thank you for covering for me, Matt.
I got to do something with my time.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't pay me $0 to sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, it's true. I just pay you $0 for vibes. We did interview the guy who got the brace, Dimitri Liolio-Davis. You can hear his interview now.
My name is Dimitri Liolio-Davis, and I play for the Newcastle Jets.
Firstly, Dimitri, welcome back. Great to be back in another season. How does it feel?
Excellent. Yeah, been itching to play again after being off for so long.
Yeah.
Had the luxury of playing at the APO Cup, so I had a little bit of extra games towards the end of the year, but it's always good to get back into the Premier League season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really fun end of the year for you, and obviously me being involved with the commentary and stuff, I got to be there for every moment, which was great. We're going to go over to Matt's question now. All he gave me was talk to us about the hair. So do with that what you will.
Talk to us about the hair.
Yeah, he said you've done something with it.
I guess, yeah, I did it just before APO Cup.
Yeah.
Chopped a lot of the locks off and got a bit of an undercut and showing my greys, but if I get a fresh fade, you can't see them. So
yeah, nice. One of the things that I've heard about, which got me to bring you on today, was the lengths you went to get your jerseys, going all the way up to Newcastle. Do you want to just talk to us a bit about how all that happened?
Yeah, so Joe Power from APFA got in contact with Team Drinkwater, who's the CEO of the Jets, and organised a meeting right in the middle of their Christmas party. They gave us some time, which we're very grateful for, and yeah, met with the club, met with the hierarchy, and explained a little bit about what we do.
Yeah, nice.
And a little bit about what we'd like help with them from, and how we can help them and how they can help us. And got ourselves a new set of kits, polos. So
yeah.
First time in 4 years, so it's really good. Everyone's looking
looks
fresh.
Really good to see us out there. And
Jets are soaring in the A-League, and hopefully Jets will be soaring in the Power Chair.
Yes, yeah, you guys are looking really, really fresh out there. Another thing on the radar for you, we're less than a year away now from Argentina. How are you feeling ahead of that?
Very excited, yeah. Last week they released the match balls, so
yeah, I saw that.
Week by week we get little bits of information and little things that make it feel more real and more exciting. So we've had a training camp already this year, and it went really, really, really well. And yeah, onwards and upwards. Hopefully Australia can move up that rankings a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be really, really exciting. If you remember previously with the podcast, we used to do a sort of prediction thing as like our final question. Decided to switch it up a bit and have a different final question for every interview. And what I'm going to do is, at the end of every interview, I'm going to say, what are we asking the next person? Now, since you're the first person, you don't have that. But whoever comes on next, we don't know who that's going to be next week.
Yeah.
What am I going to ask them?
What's their goals for the season?
All right.
Personal, not team.
Okay. Well, beautiful. That's basically about it for the interview. Thank you so much, Dee.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All good. Moving on to the afternoon games, and that was the Sydney derby between the Western Sydney Wanderers and Sydney FC. Starting out in the championship, let's not even sugarcoat it. There have been a lot closer games between these two sides. I think we're not going to be like, you may remember in previous seasons of this podcast that we kind of go play by play and sort of go, and then this happened. That we're just going to say it how it is. We're going to try and make it a bit more conversational. I think if I tackled this...
You played the first game. You might as well start us off. The Western Sydney Wanderers or Sydney FC reserve grade game.
I did. So if you get your Benny Hill music ready, starts with 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4, goes to 5, goes to 6, goes to 7-0.
Yeah.
I think Sydney FC's development, we've said this many times. I've said this in the prediction episode. I've said this last season, the season before that. What they do to develop their young guns, I think, is one of the strongest things I've seen in our competition. And their squad depth and the way they apply themselves is just phenomenal. And it is obvious how much they put into this in this result. You could see, you look at the sort of contributions to this game, and you have a good chunk of the players either scoring or assisting or both. George was a contributor to a goal. Tarek, Cody, myself in an own goal. These boys, Riley Brown even, they all put a good hard yard in and have been training under a really good regime under Sydney FC to get this result. And you know what? Like, I did not enjoy playing that game. Obviously, losing 7-0 is not fun, right? But you've got to admire it and just step back and, as a podcasting journalist, unbiased person, respect what this team is doing. They are passing better than any team in the championship.
They looked crisp.
like taking shots better than any other team in this competition. And I think this game is a statement of intent more than anything, that they are hungry to go back to back.
Yeah,
And
they're not going to give up the title this year without a fight. That's what they said yesterday.
And I think, obviously, we've got Hills having to buy, and we did predict Hills to get second in the championship. So seeing them play the Wanderers next week and see how they take on the same opponent, whether or not it's the same storyline, what happens with that is all going to dictate how we view the rest of the season. But Sydney, they have put, the best foot forward they could have already. And yes, obviously this Wanderers team is quite young. You've got myself and Ramath as the only adult players on the side. And then you've got and Jesse, pardon me, he's 19 now, I believe. Levi, who's about 10, and Misha, who's also about that age. I actually don't know. It is a team of people who are still, getting used to it. Misha's making his debut. Levi, it's his second or third year, but he's really improving. But we're all still learning certain things. We've just lost Jono to Prem's side. So we are learning how to play without him. We are learning a lot of things. And, one of the things that I'm really big on is, and our coach, Fred, was also saying, what can we take out of this game? Let's take the positives as well. Don't just look at the scoreline and be disheartened by it, because that's a bad thing to do. And, that's something that a lot, if you're starting out in this sport, you would be disheartened by a 7-0 loss. I completely understand that. We are working hard, and hopefully we can keep it not at 7-0 next time and put a bit more of a fight up. Alas, that was just the way the game went. And you know what? Sometimes you've got to put your hands up and just say, these guys just play better football than us.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every time they got you on the counter, they scored. They'd get the ball off you in the middle. They'd get put 3 or 4 passes together, and it would go in the net.
I've watched the game back already, and it is genuinely just the same kind of goal that, like what George was scoring. He's making the same touch and running when I'm pressing up too high, and it's left a 1-on-1, and then he's able to create a pass or score himself. Yes, it was a bit predictable towards the end, and I'm partly responsible for not picking that up as much. But still, what they're doing is very, very good work. And I am excited to see what this Sydney team can keep on doing.
I mean, yeah, they looked good. Their ability to pass around is very impressive. I get that apart from, like you say, you're quite an experienced team, so there was a lot more space that they had to work with, which they may not have had against a more experienced team. But look, they had chances. They made the most of them, and they basically said, look, we're not going to give away this title freely. You're going to have to come and take it off us.
It felt like a moment of a game, to be completely honest. It's very exciting to see what they're going to do this season. And if we're going to talk about the massive impact that Sydney FC can have on a game, we may as well shift over to their second game of the day, the Premiership game against the Western Sydney Wanderers. Very in theme, this game. Many cards were given out for Valentine's Day.
You could tell it was a derby. You could tell it was a derby.
You could tell it was a derby indeed. It was just very, very heated, cards going around left, right, centre. Josh sends a ball over to Fletcher. Minutes in, Sydney FC go 1-0 up from Fletcher scoring off that ball.
And then 3 yellow cards were given out before the second goal went in, just before half-time. Andy got a yellow card, Daniel got a yellow card, and Jono got a yellow card. Andy and Jono's yellow cards were for heavy contact through the back wheel, which you can't do that. And then Daniels was... I looked over Daniels a couple of times, and I was not sure what the call was for, where it was deemed he was spinning or not, or obstructing, because he collided with Andy, so I'm not sure if it was deemed that he obstructed Andy from getting to the ball, or whether he was spinning or what. I wasn't entirely sure, but yeah, he got a yellow for that.
And then the same combo of Josh Ryan and Fletcher Ball link up, carving through the Wanderers defense, making it 2-0 not long before the break. You go to halftime, it's 2-0,
Yeah.
and then it just
You started quite well in the second half, I will say, and then Andy's own goal went in, which I had to double check because I wasn't sure if it came off Andy or Fletcher. In the replay, it definitely comes off the front of Andy's chair, and then it got him, and then he got sent off for again heavy contact through the back wheels, which you can't. You can't.
you can't be doing that, Andy.
There was a lot of heavy contact through the chair from both teams. I feel like Wanderers were probably more so at fault, I guess. Well, not really at fault.
They were the more consistent
committers. At one point, I was worried you wouldn't have a team left because there was at one point where Jono was on his first yellow, and I saw the ref reach for a back pocket, and I think she had a chat with the linesman, which was Daniel's dad, and I think they deemed that it probably wasn't a second yellow worthy offence. But I at one point I thought Jono was going as well.
We also noticed we're watching the videos back, me and Matt, last night on call. We noticed that Jono probably should have gotten a second yellow for leaving the field of play for a set piece.
Ben and Jono left the field of play several times to drive around the goalpost. Which, look, when the ball is not in play, from my understanding, you're going to get warned for it, but it's not a yellow card. I need to recheck the rules here on that one, but to my understanding, it's a bit iffy whether it's a yellow or not. It's not like a. But if you do it when the ball's in play, it's basically a straight red. If the ball's in play, it's a straight. But they did it 3-4 times in the space of about 2 minutes to set up for corner kicks. I was just like, you can't. Yeah, it's just little things like that. I mean, the ref didn't pick it up, or did and just went, whatever. Because, like, realistically, you're getting in position to defend a sideline. Yeah. If they're not trying to take it quickly, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, at least. If there was a more harsh ref, I will say. Not that she did. I thought she reffed the game fantastically, actually. Played a lot of advantage, let a lot of contact go that more harsh referees would pick up on. Not that they should have been called contact, because a lot of the time it was guard on guard, and while, just because you hear a heavy clang, it doesn't mean that it's a foul. And I hate that whenever a referee will just blow it because they hear a clang, even if it's guard on guard. It's like, I think she tried to play a very free-flowing game, and the advantage was played quite a lot, because I think towards the end of the game, the Wanderers specifically started to give away a fair few 2-on-1s. Even when you went down to 3 players, there was a couple of times you gave away a 2-on-1. It's like,
obviously the Wanderers were trying out a lot of things in it.
Yeah, and the new combination they tried with Ben in the middle, defending in the box with Jono in the goalkeeper jersey. Look, they tried it for the whole game. It's an interesting way to set up. Obviously, with Ben going into England, he's got that experience to play in the middle. I'm still a bit iffy when a player who can't realistically see a lot of the field, and that's no fault of Ben, it's just he just can't see, and for the same reason that any other player can't see. I get a bit iffy when there's a player who can't see a lot of the field sitting in the box, because the moment you lose sight of the ball when it's getting passed around, you're done for, especially if you're the only one in the box. If you've got no idea where that ball is when it's getting passed around you and you're the last man, that's not something that's good. I think Ben played well in the middle. He positionally was okay in the box. Again, it's not something he's particularly used to. I think with a bit more practice, it could come off.
What sort of positives besides that do you think you saw from the Wanderers?
They got out of their own half from time to time, and when they put some good passes together. The wingers were too flat with the middleman at times. There were times where the Wanderers had a breakaway, right, for the counter, but the person in the middle had no one to pass it to because his 2 wingers were behind him. You're not going to get out of the back if your wingers are behind you. You've got nobody to pass it to. The best you can do is reef it upfield for a goal kick, and then it just comes straight back down to your end anyway. I won't say that they shouldn't play like that, and it's doomed to fail, because they were trying something new. And look, with a couple of games under their belt, it probably could go pretty well. They're going to have a rough time next week with Ben not being there. I don't know what the ruling's going to be on the red, whether he's going to miss a game or appeal it to try and play next week. I don't know the process for appealing that. It wasn't a straight red. It was only
Second yellow.
it was a second yellow. It was shown as a straight red on the replay, but I asked the referee afterwards. It was a second yellow, not a straight red. Straight red, to my knowledge, is an automatic 1-game suspension, unless you successfully appeal. They would then look at the offence and go, does it need to be more than 1 week? I'm not sure if 2 yellows is an automatic 1 week, and I'm assuming that Andy will appeal. I don't know how much of a case he's got. Both yellows he received were for heavy contact through the back wheels, but there's no point not appealing it, put it that way. But he's also got to be careful as well, because it's round 1 and he's got 2 yellows. If you get either 3 or 5 yellows in the comp, you miss a game. I'll have to double check if it's 3 or 5. I think it could be 3. If he gets off and plays next week, but then gets another yellow, he's just got to be careful. They weren't malicious. It was just reckless. But realistically, no, I don't think anybody in the sport goes out to maliciously hurt someone. You looked quite good in defence when you came on after Andy's red card. They scored again, and then they scored their 5th and final goal when you were on the field.
Yes, that's correct.
You came on just after they scored their 4th goal.
And there was one moment, sorry, Matt, to cut you off. There was one moment I think we should bring up is I almost took after the man who got sent off, Andy Waite, and pulled Andy in defense. Was like, I'll leave that ball, and then it rolled just on the other side of the post. And look, Andy's done that many times where he's like, I'll leave that ball, that's going way wide, and then it curls back in. So I'm lucky that it didn't happen to me.
I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due to Sydney. They played fantastic. Their passing was great. A bit sluggish at times, took the wrong options at times. They had a lot of space on the wings, and rather than switch the ball over to the other side to take advantage of that space, they would send it back to where it came from, and the ball would either get cut out because Steve or Andy was there to cut off the pass, or it would go out. So then there was a lot of wild spinning that they would just spin at the ball, and I'm not sure they had really any idea of where it was going to go or who it was going to go to. They just saw the ball and spun at it. I think they just got to be more aware of the options that are available to them when they're playing. They just got to make more use of the space that's in front of them, because the Wanderers played very compact in defence, so there was a lot of space to move the ball around. The Wanderers were very jumpy, especially the wingers. They were very jumpy in defence. And Sydney didn't quite capitalise on that as best as they could have. But again, it's first game of the season. Everyone's shrugging off the cobwebs. I'm looking forward to finally getting on the field next week.
I am looking forward to seeing you back as a co-host of the podcast and also as a player. I think it'll be fun to see your return as you play.
I get to play against you next week.
So let's hope we can make it not 5-0.
Well, there's no Ben next week because he's in England, and we don't know what's going on with Andy, so we'll see. I still think you've got a half-decent side without Ben and Andy. It'll be hard to break down in defence. Yeah, I can't wait to get back on the field. That leaves us with what the tables look like currently, I guess.
Yes, so we will go...
Not particularly interesting, is it?
Nothing too fancy going on at the moment. We'll do Championship first. We've got Sydney FC in first with a 1 win, and that's it, because there's been 1 game played with a 7-goal difference.
Yep.
Second place is Football St George, 1 win, 6-goal difference on 3 points also. And then the 2 teams that lost today, Newcastle Jets and the Western Sydney Wanderers, 3rd and 4th, respectively. The Wanderers on negative 7-goal difference, putting them below in the table.
Yeah, I don't know why we're last with a goal difference of 0.
I don't know. Okay, on the website it says Hills are last. I don't know how they're treating it because they have the bye. Like, in my opinion, I would put them 3rd if I was making this table.
Well, it's just how it works. We've got a goal difference of 0. We're still on 0 points, so we're equal last. Just got a goal difference of 0.
If we're going by those rules, Hills are in 3rd, Newcastle 4th, Wanderers 5th. And then if we move over to the championship stats, we've got in first place George Tiong of Sydney FC. He's on 5. Second place is a 2-way tie between Ibi Khan and Ruby McLean, both on 2. and a tie for third between Sydney FC's Riley Brown and Football St George's Finn O'Donovan, both on 1. And then in the assist chart, that is led by Football St George's Finn O'Donovan. He has 4. And then second place is held by Sydney. Yeah, he did well. Sydney FC's Tarek Brown has 3 in second, and a 3-way tie in third for the assist between Riley Brown and Cody Town of Sydney FC, as well as Ruby McLean of Football St George, all on 1. And then there are only 2 players who have clean sheets, obviously, as it is the first game of the season. They are Ibi Khan of Football St George and Cody Town of Sydney FC, both on 1. Moving over to the Premiership now, and Sydney FC lead the table after their 5-0 thrashing of the Western Sydney Wanderers. And in second place is the Newcastle Jets after they beat Football St George 2-0. Going off the rules that we discussed before, Hills United are in third, despite not having played a game. Football St George in 4th, Western Sydney in 5th. A few less goal scorers in the statistics in the Premiership compared to the Championship. Fletcher Ball leads the goal scoring chart with 4 for Sydney FC after his performance against the Wanderers.
Was it 4?
That's what it says on the website.
Okay, I'm going to have to double check that. I think they may have given Andy's own goal to him.
Okay. Well, regardless, he's in first.
We'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah,
but he's first regardless, whether it's 3 or 4.
Yeah, second place is Dimitri Liolio-Davis on 2, which you heard from him before in that interview. And Sydney FC's Riley Brown scored 1 in that game as well. We move over to the assist chart that is led by Joshua Ryan of Sydney FC. He has 4. And then there is a 3-way tie for second between the Newcastle Jets, Shannon Anlazark and Chris Hastis, as well as Sydney FC's Daniel O'Brien. The 3 of them all have 1. And the clean sheets are held by Joshua Ryan and Ryan Seck of Sydney FC and the Newcastle Jets respectively. They both have 1. So that basically brings us to the end of our discussion, Matt. Is there anything else you can think of that we should be bringing up before we wrap up for today?
No, I can think of. I mean, it's good to be back.
It is. To be back in the chair, back playing games. We'll see you next week for another round of matches, and we will transition into the end card of the show. And thank you for listening. You can get involved in Powership football here in New South Wales as an athlete, coach, referee or volunteer by visiting the New South Wales Powership football website linked below. Our season takes place in Glenwood at the Valentine Sports Park from the 14th of February 2026 to the 25th of July 2026 every Saturday. Contact info@nswpfa.org.au for more information.
And if you'd like to get in touch with the podcast, you can follow us at Powered by Football Pod on Instagram, join our Facebook group, Powered by Football Podcast, or follow our Twitter account at Powered by Pod. Thank you for listening.